Let's take a look at how to create a login in Microsoft SQL Server. Before creating a user that accesses the database in Microsoft SQL Server, you must first create a login. Now, to create a login, you'll utilize the create login statement. The syntax for that statement will start off by providing the create login keyword. Then you'll provide the login name that you want to have created. Then you'll provide the with password keywords. Then you'll provide the password that you want to have used for this login. And then the with password comes with additional parameters such as the must change, check policy, and check expiration. Now, the check policy and check expiration takes two inputs. It's either on or off. Check expiration indicates to the SQL Server whether or not this password will expire. If it is on, then it will utilize a value set in the database to determine how long before the password will expire. Check policy would indicate to SQL Server whether or not it should use its own default password policy or if it should utilize the password policy set on the server to determine the complexity of the password that can be used. Must change is an option that would allow for the admin to provide to the user that once they are logging in, they must change the password on that first login. Let's take a look at this in practice to get a better understanding as to how it will work. So today we'll be using SQL Server Management Studio to go ahead and create a login. We're going to be using the graphical interface to So today we'll be utilizing SQL Server Management Studio to create the login. We'll be utilizing the graphical interface to complete the process. So we'll be starting off by going to our instance, then going to security, expanding security, and then we'll see logins. We'll right click on logins and select new login. We're able to create two types of logins. We're able to create a Windows authenticated login or a SQL Server authenticated login. For this tutorial, we'll be using SQL Server authenticated login. So we're going to select that option and then we'll specify the login name that we want to have created. So in this case, we'll set test user. Then we'll provide the password that we want to use for this user. Now, earlier we were discussing the additional options that are available when setting a password, where we have the must change, password expiration, and password policy. So by default, all three are checked on, and we're going to leave them on. Now, if we were to click OK, we'll have successfully created this user in the database. However, what we want to do, or at least what I'll be showing you, is a feature that is utilized in SQL Server Management Studio that would allow for you to create the SQL statement behind the action that you'd be doing using the graphical interface. So at the top of the window, you'll see the script option. We'll click on the drop down and we'll have additional features or options, but we'll be selecting the script action to new query window. So in selecting that, we have an error. So the password does not match. Let us fix that. And let's try this once more. So we're able to script the password or script that process that we have done, the create login process, and use the statement to execute. So as you can recall, this is very similar to the syntax that we've just explained earlier in the video, where we've started off with the create login keyword, then we'll provide the username that we want to have created. We'll specify the with password keyword, then provide the password that we want to have created, and then we have the options must change, check expiration, and check policy. When utilizing the script function in SQL Server Management Studio, it will provide you with additional information that by default would will not need to be provided. So for example, it is specifying the default database. Now we don't have to include this, as the default database will be master if it is not provided. The end that is provided here, we don't need to have it included, and we don't need the brackets here to indicate the username that we are creating. So we're going to go ahead and execute this statement, and we have successfully created our user in the database or on the server. We're able to check that by refreshing our securities folder, going to logins, and we'll see the newly created user, test user. So this is just a quick run through as to how to go about creating a login in Microsoft SQL Server utilizing SQL Server Management Studio.